Everybody knows the Souls games are fucking hard. Developed by From Software, these games are loved by people who hate themselves. Although these games were released years apart, they do share some similarities. But, whatever, that's not the point. My job is to tell you guys whether you should buy Dark Souls 1 or 2. I'm gonna break this review down into a short list of what each game did better than the other, and list reasons as to why I think that. Let's start with Dark Souls 1. Lore-wise, the first game definitely beat out the second one, as they started from scratch and managed to provide you an expansive world that you would not discover unless you went looking for. It provides a truly immersive story that has explanations for just about everything. Most of the lore in the game is given through item descriptions, and it feels as though in the second game they didn't even bother trying for returning items. They just said like, yeah, this is something from the past and not much else. They handled PvP combat much better in the first game, despite using Games for Windows Live, which has recently been removed. They compared soul level, which is the level of the player, rather than soul memory, which is the total sum of souls collected by killing enemies or other means. Invading another player's world has its kinks, but it provides a great way to keep PvP battles going. It also has arena combat, which is a 4-player battle where everyone's your enemy, and it features respawning, so that's pretty cool. Its bosses are also quite a bit more creative than the bosses of the second game, as many of the bosses are demons and grotesque shapes and sizes, giving it a step up above the second game where the vast majority of bosses were more human-like. Except for the last boss, who was pretty easy, but I mean, that's for the sake of the lore. Now let's talk about Dark Souls 2. The controls in Dark Souls 2 were all around more polished this time around. Combat was a lot smoother in the second game, and you felt as though your inputs were actually being received. Backstabs are a lot easier in this game, and that can be both a good and a bad thing, as PvP is sometimes a game of backstab fishing, but PvE-wise it does feel a lot better. The visuals in Dark Souls 2 were much more appealing than in its predecessor. The graphics and textures all around look much more clean and polished. Obviously, since this is a newer game, improvements like this are expected, but nonetheless, it was something that Dark Souls 2 did a lot better than Dark Souls 1. All in all, both of these games are fantastic and definitely deserve the praise that they're getting. The games are on sale for $6.79 and $19.99 respectively until January 2nd and are definitely worth your time. My final verdict is that Dark Souls 2 is altogether a better game than its predecessor. Although I did have more to say about the first game, Dark Souls 2 took all that Dark Souls 1 had and improved upon it, improving both the core gameplay elements as well as its visual style. I don't think you should buy this game if you're a filthy casual, as difficulty is where most of the enjoyment of these games derive from. Another reason for holding off on buying the game is that a brand new expansion, Scholar of the First Sin, has just been announced, and since it's going to be its own title, you'd have to repurchase Dark Souls 2 if you want to access that DLC. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what I can improve on in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video.